Sign up now at elevate.miami.edu for my course, Organized Rhyme.
Looking at the word legacy, while involving some wordplay, I'll use the first syllable to build upon. We'll use the first syllable, leg. For the second syllable, we'll use an. And for the third syllable, we'll use the word knee. So now we have leg and knee. Can we use it in context with legacy? Let's just see.
Wordsworth Productions with a S.com for all merch. I got 2 books available right now. Words Are Worth Volume 1, and I also have a children's book called Socks. Age range from 12 to 15, so it's kind of like the middle school and high school age range, but adults can read it as well. What up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of What Words Is Worth, and today I got 2 special guests that is always dope for me to learn about, artists that are just like doing their thing. There's so many artists out there, so sometimes people just like, fall by the wayside. Even me, sometimes I'll put out a project and my friends don't even hear it. That's just how it is today. But it's always dope when you run across dope artists such as Maine The Medicine and Son Lee.
Son Lee, yep.
Son Lee, which is super dope with the rhyming, bars, and integrity of keeping the skills together. And right now they got a project out called Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And I listened to it yesterday and I was pleasantly surprised. My favorite song is Black Magic. I was like, yo, yeah, that's the joint. That's my joint on there. That's my joint.
See, I'm surprised because everybody's tells me that their favorite is Forever and Live from the Basement.
Yeah, for me, it's Black Magic. I was like, oh yeah, this right here. I love the groove of it. I like anything that, you could bop to and kind of a little 2-step, a little bit hip hop.
Yeah,
stuff.
and the person who made that beat is the person that introduced me to Maine The Medicine. So shout out Black Magic for the production on that.
I'm always looking for inspiration too. I don't care. We all trying to find something to make us be like, yo, there's other ways to write, other ways to have bars on here. So I wanted to first start with, right now we got the Mr. and Mrs. Smith album, right? How did that come about as far as choosing that title? Because it seems like y'all share a lot of the bars on the album and everything.
There was Save Me and Obscurity. Yeah, so Save Me was like one of the first songs that we did that led up to the whole like Mr. and Mrs. Smith album. So Save Me was by Nate Will. And at first when I heard it, I was like, oh, this is cool. This is different. And I didn't really have like an aim, you know what I mean? As far as like, I kind of just, when I write, I like to just listen to the beat and whatever I feel is kind of how I like to pen my verses. So like, I don't have to go in it with any like specific ideas, you know what I mean? Nothing in the beginning. I just kind of go with what I get from the beat. So when we first did it, like it had like this vibe to it that was just like, oh my goodness, like somebody save me. Like that was me in the beginning of the song. I'm like, somebody save me. Like that was me. So we just tried to like give a approach, like to like let people know like we're here, like, and that was the initial like start to the whole Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And like I said, it was Maine's idea. He was like, you know what, we should name the album Mr. and Mrs. Smith. He's like, that would be a dope title. He's like, and we do like a couple of songs. It was originally only supposed to be like 6 or 7 songs. And then we ended up in total, we have like, I think 10 songs and like 4 little like skits, with, like, interludes. But yeah, it came together and it took like, I would say maybe 9 months, 10 months in total.
Yeah. And you sound good doing the skits too. Like as far as like the acting aspect of it. Because sometimes
because I always tried to be like a voice person. Like even growing up, I was like big on like when I was raising my son, like entertaining him and keeping him like focused and keeping him busy. So I noticed early on he used to catch on to like when I would like impersonate somebody else. So when I impersonate somebody else, my thing is I always have to change my voice so that it's not me. When I talk, like, so if I impersonate somebody, I'll be like, oh yeah, they were like, and he used to get a kick out of it. So for me, I always try to like see like what I can do, you know what I mean? What my range is and where I could take things that are outside of like myself. So like there might be stuff where they're like, what, that was you? I didn't even know that was you. And I like that aspect of it as well. You know what I mean? Like the little not knowing, you know what I mean? That's what we need in it. You know what I mean? Just giving the little extras. So
Yeah, I think that helps because like I'm listening to the album for everything because as you know, and both y'all know, we've heard so much hip hop and throughout our lives and
yeah,
albums and rapping. So we have some comparisons and comparatives. We can say if something's good or not. So I'm listening and I'm like, okay, the skits even sound good, believable. They're believable. So I was pleasantly surprised that it was believable and then how they would lead into the songs as well. So I wanted to start with what's the origin of the names and areas where y'all from?
well, I'm from Scranton, Pennsylvania. It's a little small town in 570 in northeastern Pennsylvania. So we're
No, I
not
know
really
about it.
super
Joe
popular here.
Biden.
I
That's
mean,
I know about that from Joe Biden.
yeah, he's from the area, and I guess they said Hillary was like not far from here either. She's like Dunmore area of Pennsylvania, so there's like a lot of ties to certain people from this area. But
Yeah, man. So what about you, man? What's your origin and where you're from? Like as far as well, how'd you get your name, man? Because we heard about San Lee got hers from her name, like just kind of like a derivative. How'd you end up with your name?
Well, it used to be just Maine, and then I put out a mixtape called The Medicine. And my man Laquan, he was like, "Yo, that sound dope." Like, he started calling me The Medicine. So then I just put it together as, kept it as Maine The Medicine. And I'm originally from Queens, New York.
Yeah, and then I saw that it said like you were like 17 years in Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah,
And then so I was just wondering, like, because I hear the style. So the things that I noticed from listening to it, one, you got like a unique voice. Like when you come on with the unique voice, and then when here Son Lee come on, there's like a good, it's like a good back and forth vibe because he comes on very aggressive, and then
yeah,
you know yeah,
but I
and then
love that. I love that about
yeah,
him. Though.
cause and then when you come
He's
on,
not
you
playing
balance
no
it out.
games. Yeah, he's not playing no games.
Yeah, and then when you come on, you balance it out. And
Mhm.
from a male aspect, it was good to hear another dope female. To be honest with you,
Thank you,
like
thank you.
yeah,
Because
because
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of dope females, and I love how there's so many more just popping up. You know what I mean? Like a lot of them that are just putting out their own music, their own little videos and stuff. Like I'm a little more not. I won't say that I'm like shy. I just don't really, like I said, care for the fame side of it. I just want to keep putting out the music and stuff. Like I don't want to be out there dropping a new video every week, and you know what I mean, like trying to keep up with everything everybody else is doing. I just want to put music out. If people like it, they like it. They listen, they listen. Like for
I,
me, it
I'm
was just
trying to get
always
her
a
to
love of
start
mine.
twerking and stuff.
No, that'll never be me. I'm
nah,
I'm a mother and I'm older now, so like I don't care for like even like the club scenes, you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
every now and again I'll attend like local events and stuff like that, but as far as like going out every weekend, like that's just not my vibe. And then like the hours that I work and stuff like that, it just doesn't mesh well with, you know what I mean, my lifestyle. So I just keep it simple. I'm a plain Jane type of broad. I'm not into being everywhere all at once.
So as far as like your writing styles, right? So to me, like I said, Maine is like aggressive, kind of straight to it, and then you have like a more like style. I would say very balanced, clear approach to the bars, but the rhymes are like you real. They connect very accurate. So it's good to hear the rhymes that y'all are writing because they're very accurate. So how would
Mhm.
y'all define your writing style? So Maine, how would you define your writing style?
Uh, I don't know. It's like, well, one of the things I do is like I'll listen to the beat and then I start writing. Like I turn the beat off after a while, and then I start writing, and all during the day, like I'm going over what I have, and then I'm building on it. You know what I mean? So I could be at work and then be like come up with a bar and write it on a piece of napkin and try to put it in my phone and stuff, and then when I get it almost complete, then I go back to the beat. You know what I mean? And merge it with the beat. I don't know. That's how I've always done it. Like
How about
And
you,
I'm
son?
the total opposite. When I write, I want to sit down and write, like, type of thing. So for me, the beat's always playing. It's got to be going. It's got to be looped in its rotation. So I'm able to keep going over like what I have, and if I want to change something, I know exactly where I need to make my changes. You know what I mean? As I'm like going over everything. So I don't usually write without the beat. There's times where I've come up with bars where I've had no beat, and then I'm able to go later on and be like, "Ooh, that's perfect," like, and throw it in somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, so for me, I do the like quick, if I think of something, I write it down moments, but those ones don't involve a beat. So for me, when it actually comes to writing on music for an actual song, I like to have the beat in play in constant rotation until I'm done with it.
And what's your preference as far as like, it seems like you do like writing aspect of it. You like the writing paper, pen. Are you writing paper, pen, computer, phone only in your head and then saying the rhymes? So, San Lee, if you don't
Um,
mind answering that first.
no, I usually will write it either on like with a pen and a pad, or I'll usually jot stuff down. I have a notepad in my phone as well for like if I'm somewhere and I think of something like. But I've always been like that, even when I was younger. Like some of the first stuff that I penned down was in like a computer class on an actual computer, and it came out so dope. It was a song called "Ayo Shorty," and it was me and one of my girlfriends from high school, and like I came up with the hook and stuff for it, and like we were just like 17, 18-year-old girls, like seniors in high school, just like, yo, we got this dope idea. So I was just sitting there one day, and I started kind of like as just like a, I don't know if I would say it was like supposed to be like a me writing like a little song or a story, and I just took it from there. And then after that, after I had like the little part, I kept reading it to myself. I'm like, oh wow, this could be a chorus for a song. Like, so I kept typing, and then before I knew it, I had a verse, and then I got my friend on it, and we recorded it with this kid named DJ Ransom. And somewhere like in the archives somewhere, I do have it on CD, but it was the first song that me and my girlfriend ever did. And that was where like our love for hip hop started. Like we started out like using like instrumentals from other artists on like a karaoke box, like me and my girlfriend, and like trying to come up with like our own rhymes and like the instrumentals. And that was where like our love for music was like, yeah, we gonna rap, we gonna do this, we gonna do that. So when I was in high school, and like I said, when I was younger, right up until I became a mom, so I'd say till about age 21, there was a good like 5 year span there where all I wanted to do was do music. And I would like every chance I got, I worked two jobs, and I would go like to the studio and record with like my friends in this area. And then I ended up taking a hiatus after I had my son. And then it was like, then it became like I do it in my spare time, or I might write something here or there. But there was like years that went by where I just didn't do any writing. And now, like the past few years, I'd say maybe since like mid 2023, I've only been like back at it. So it's all like I'm kind of like starting over. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's all new to me, you know what I mean? And it's changed so much from where it was when I had first like started doing it. So it was different then, you know what I mean, versus how it is now. Like it's so much easier to put out all your own music, but unfortunately I don't have the capability to do so at home. So
And Maine, how about you? As far as, are you writing, in your head, you're writing the rhymes, or pencil, pen, paper? How are you still traditional with it, or what?
yeah, I'm still traditional with the book. You know what I mean? And then uh, I used to be against it, but now like if I'm at work or something like that, I put it in my phone, real quick. Cause sometimes I like even if I'm driving, like I do like I'll send a voice clip to like my wife's text message. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'll send like I start sending verses to her text message from you know what I mean. So that's how I always did it. But like I'm forever have a book Like I still got books from like 20 years ago. You know what I mean? So
And then who were some of your influences? So Son Lee coming up, what were like some of the rappers that you listened to when that made you say,
Growing
"Oh, I
up,
want
I listened to like Tupac, Biggie Smalls. I listened to a lot of actual like Queens rappers. Like I loved Mobb Deep. I loved 50 Cent growing up. I loved Nas. You know what I mean? But then I had like my Jay-Z. I like Jay-Z, you know what I mean? And then later on in music, it was like a lot of different artists. But I was versatile, you know what I mean? Like I liked the Lost Boys, like growing up. Like it was a lot of like New York City music, you know what I mean? And maybe I'd say only like a little bit of a Philly influence, not much. Like I liked Eve, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
she was one of the female rappers from like this area, like
right."
Pennsylvania. So she was more like a bigger influence for me when I was growing up. But I'd say a lot of my influence came more on like the jazzier Motown side, you know what I mean? And then like I had my influence from like Lauryn Hill, like she inspired me a lot, like hearing her music growing up. And I liked the poetic side too. There was a moment when I was younger, between like the age of 18 and 20, where I had wrote poetry and then I had got discouraged because I made the mistake of putting them in like a poetry site. It was like poetry.com at the time.
Yeah.
Then it changed its name and I wasn't able to access any of the poems that I had put in there. I had like 12 or 13 poems in there. So then when my information changed and they switched over to there and I wasn't able to like get in and locate any of my work. So I was upset about that. So like there was a lot of like things that were I don't know if they were like meant to set me back or but they just never stopped me, you know what I mean? I always had love for music. I've always had love for writing and a good beat or a good instrumental. And then for a while I had a friend who was like teaching me how to make beats. So every now and again I'll like turn my old desktop computer on and I'll mess with my MK one that I have. Like I have a Native Instruments machine and I'll mess with that and then I have the like set up, you know what I mean? So I could do like a little bit of beat production, but I don't play no instruments, so that's the the downside, you know what I mean? Everything is more or
Yeah.
less just playing it by how it sounds.
And then Maine, who influenced you coming up? Like what artists you listen to or influenced you to be like, yeah, I want to do this? And
I don't know. Well, for me, growing up, it was like I was into Run, Rakim, and all of them. But then like my two favorite rappers is Nas and Redman. You know what I mean? So like my my style early in the years, people used to compare me, to Redman and stuff like that. And then Nas, I always, I guess because like my cousins was from Queensbridge, you know what I mean, and they was part of Nas crew. Like if you ever heard Nas mention Barkim and Sudan, you know what I mean? Those are my cousin. Well, rest in peace, Barkim. My cousin, he passed away in 2000. But like, they was putting me on the Nas, before he was really like coming out. You know what I mean? So then when I finally heard him, I was like, oh, this dude is dope. You know what I mean? So those are like my two favorites. And I got to give it to my cousin Sue too, because growing up, like he used to rap with like Black Poet, from Queensbridge and stuff.
yeah.
So I would see Shin and all of them, and he was the first one that I saw like rapping and coming home with like a demo or something like that. So like he's really like my first influence. You know what I mean? So
And then as far as when y'all start creating the songs, do you prefer to make the chorus first or the verses first? Stanley?
Verse
uh,
first.
go ahead.
Verse first.
For me is the verse first. Every now and then I may think it's like a crazy hook, you know what I mean, and jot it down, but mostly it's the verses first.
And then like how long does it take you to write a verse or a song? What and then Son Lee, I saw that you said you make beats, but that's not really your thing like that. But like, you can
Yeah,
answer
I
that
do it
with beats
only like in
too.
my spare time when I want to be creative, or if I think of something and I'm like, oh, I wonder if I could do it, and like, you know what I mean, try to jot it in to my like native instrument. But if I can't get it in there, then it's just like I'll try next time.
Yeah.
Next time when I get with one of my friends, I'll see if they can help me. So for me, it's like I said, everything's still a learning process as far as like producing beats goes. But when it comes to writing a verse, if I'm really into it, I'd say sometimes it could be like 20 minutes to an
Oh wow.
hour. You know what I mean? Then sometimes there's times like I did a song last year around like Thanksgiving called Go Stupid. And that song, I think I maybe penned that song in maybe like 45 minutes. Like it was just like the beat was just so catchy, and it was for me like something I was like, yeah, this is gonna be like a little repetitious, like something. And I wrote that, and that was a whole song, and I wrote that one in 45 minutes. So verses it usually could vary, but songs as well. Sometimes it'll take a little bit longer with a song than beats. I don't really have like too many created, but the ones that I do have created, they're all like in snippet form, so they're all like maybe a minute, minute and a half long. So
Yeah.
I would have to do more like an extension on them to put them into a full beat. So they're all more in like a snippet form on
How
the
about you,
computer.
man?
Um, Same in a way, because like I've written a verse sometime in like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, but then sometimes it could take me a couple of days to finish a verse. Because like if I get to a point where I'm kind of stuck, I kind of give it a break. You know what I mean? And then come back to it. You know what I mean? But like if we somewhere and I had to write a verse, like I mean I could do it, but sometimes I like to wait to see what other ideas come into my head instead of just maybe settling for certain lines. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I think that's the challenge of being a writer is you have your guidelines and the way you like to write. But being a writer, and when you get into the songwriting business or writing business, it could be commercials, marketing, whatever, your guidelines don't really matter,
Yeah.
like, yeah, somebody might say, hey, I got this amount of money for you. It's due this time, it's due tomorrow, it's due next week. They put these constraints on you, and then you start to learn like the business aspects may alter your whole traditional style of how you do things. And I think that's something that's it can be helpful, it can be hurtful depending on the person, but I think it's more or less just you having to understand that. How do y'all feel about that when you've been given a time constraint on something? I've spoken to people that just be like, you know what, I'm gonna fall back. I ain't gonna do it because I don't got time to do it. Or do you find it
Yeah,
as a
sometimes if you feel pressure, I always say that you shouldn't do something. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? But if it's just like more or less sometimes it being a deadline and it's like you're willing and wanting to do it, then I'd say, yeah, absolutely go for it. So that could be, like you said, sometimes it could be something that you have to make the choice on, you know what I mean, and decide whether you have the time or not. But if it's something that you're really wanting to do, I'd say go for it. And then if it's something that you know isn't up your alley or something that you'd want to do, or you know you're going to have the time and ability to be able to do it, then you know what I mean. I'd say you always go with your gut instinct on stuff like that.
How about you, man?
when I mean pressure, like there's times, like back in the day, you'll go to the studio and there might be a beat playing and be like, y'all want to jump on this, and if it's other people writing, sometimes that kind of like gets you hyped, you know what I mean? And then you be like, yo, I gotta write to this and I need to get on this record, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you can't just be like, oh, let me go home and write to it and come back, because then you might not get on it, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever saw it, I think like in 2019, when J. Cole and them was working on the Dreamville album. They just booked a studio, and they just had like a bunch of rappers in there, bunch of producers. It's like I think like it was like 10, maybe like 8 or 10 rooms in the studio. In each room, there was a producer making a beat, and there was a bunch of artists in there trying to get on it. They write, and they like, yo, I got to get my verse on this, and like everybody verse didn't last on each song. They might have cut some people, but they wrote to get on it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
they was like, you can't go home and come back because you might not be on this record. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
sometimes the pressure and the environment, like if you see 2, 3 other MCs and they write, and it's like, yo, I got this, I got this sound and stuff. That kind of gets you hype, and get back against the wall. You could probably write one of the greatest verses you ever wrote. You know what I mean? So it all depends.
yeah. That's how RZA used to do it when he did Wu-Tang. And it's crazy because you led right into my next question, was as far as, do you prefer writing in the studio or writing at home and then taking it to the studio? What about you, Sandy?
I prefer to write at home, but there's times where I've write and like created right on the spot in the studio as well. So it's both for me, but the majority of the time it's at home.
What about you, man?
Uh, Most of the time it's at home too, but then there's times that like I've gotten in the studio and started writing another verse, came up with a hook, something. Sometimes my verse wasn't finished, and I had to get to the studio, and like she'll go in the booth first, and I'll still be trying to finish the next 4 bars on my verse or something, or I might have changed something last minute. You know what I mean? So, but I've
Yeah.
done both, but I prefer to write it.
I think a lot of times too, it's so many dynamics, especially like, all, let's say all three of us, we have our own different ways we write, but then also there's that dynamic of, the studio being paid for. If there's some money involved,
Yeah. Yes. Then you
yeah,
shouldn't be writing anything when you're in there. Just recording, get into the chop cut, take this out, add this. That's the most the
yep,
most important.
yep. You're
You
trying
know
to make
what's
sure your
funny?
stuff.
I said this to like a couple of young people. I think I posted on Facebook one time, and like I only older heads understand this. Like back in the days, especially when you went to the studio, like in Manhattan and stuff like that, like you 6 hour, 7 hour session, you was lucky if you came out with maybe 2 songs. You know what I mean? Because the way that they used to mix down, it took forever, and I know they would stretch it out just to,
To get
drain
that
some of
time.
them hours. You know what I mean? But like now,
Yeah,
you give me 6 hours, I can go in the studio and lay down 4 or 5 songs. You know what I mean? Like it's different now. Because back then you had the reels and you had the ADAT. You know what I mean? And like
yep.
the engineer could be working on your one record for like 3 4 hours. You know what I mean? Just you know uh, mixing down and getting the sounds and everything right. So it's much
Yeah,
easier now.
it felt like, if I think about when we were younger too doing it, it was more so, some of us had a lack of understanding of financially supporting the studio session. Like, we was wasting money, you know what I'm saying? Like some of the things we were doing, showing you got people that might show up late to the session, some people might have half their
Not
verse written, tell you
getting
that
it done. Yep.
yeah, it was a lot of that too. And then once you got older and started understanding some more, understanding how to spend your money more, then you were like, yo, I can't just pop up in the studio wasting money. And you started figuring out, like, you know what, let me get it.
You
Let me get
gotta
my
come with your stuff already ready.
right, right. Let me come with my stuff already written. I'm not even going unless my joint is written. So what's
Mhm.
about us talking about how back then it was, and then maybe today for us? I'm 50 years old, so my atmosphere is totally different than when I was younger in the studio. What's
I'm
the space?
41. I'm
Yeah,
41, so the atmosphere now, I don't feel like it's probably much different. It's just that nowadays everything's so much more fast paced. You know what I mean? The
Mhm.
technology of it and how quick they can get it done, the efficiency of it has just gotten so much better. So like now they can just do everything with a couple of a mouse and they could change everything. You know what I mean? The sounds, the everything. You know what I mean? So now I feel it's a little bit more fast, you know what I mean, compared
Yeah.
to back then everything was absolutely more slow paced. But for me, as far as like my atmosphere when creating, I get ideas from everything. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
sometimes I could just be having a bad day and then I'll sit down and like put an instrumental or a beat on and now I just came up with a verse because the way I was feeling like just put me in a mood and then the beat took me where I needed to get to so I was able to write. So I think sometimes it could be anything. There was times when I was younger, I used to write based on the situations I was going through with my boyfriend at the time and
Right.
I ended up like writing a whole song in like an hour and a half and I was surprised with how quick it was able to like come about. So I think a lot of the times you can be influenced by anything. You know what I mean? It could be something as small as like the weather outside, or a little kid smiling at you on the end of the block and waving. You know what I mean?
How
There could
about
be so much
Stan
to
Lee?
it.
How about people in the studio? Does it matter like being in the studio by yourself versus, like I said, when we were younger, we
I
might
kind of
have had our
say
friends.
for that for me, the more the merrier, as long as the people in the studio are into what you're into. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like I would never be in there with like a punk rock group. You know what I mean? So I could be in the studio with like multiple people, or it could just be me and other like one other person. Or to me, it doesn't matter the amount of people, and I don't look to the studio for the vibe because. Like I said, once I'm at the studio, it's like I'm here for one thing, and that's to lay my shit down and take it on home. You know what I mean? So I don't go to the studio with an intent is it's like a place to hang out. Um, my vibes are usually always high spirited, even like when I feel like shit. Because like I said, I know that I'm there. I have a job to do, and I try to make the most of that and like kind of leave everything at the door once I enter the studio. You know what I mean? Even if you're
yeah.
having a bad day, you're at the studio now. Let that shit fly. You know what I mean? Like
How about Stan Lee? Is it morning or night? Morning or night? What's the best time that you like to write? This is the same thing goes for you, man. These same questions, just your atmosphere, people in the studio or so on, morning or nighttime. That's kind of where I'm at with it. What about you?
nighttime. It's more or less always the nighttime.
How about you, man?
Well, see, I'm a little different. Like I don't like to be like when I'm creating and stuff. I don't like a whole bunch of people in the studio. You know what I mean? Because like it's hard to explain. It's like I want to be able to experiment and test stuff and see what it sound like without people be like, "Oh, yo, you should do this."
Mm,
You know what I mean? But like I
yeah.
want to be able to do something crazy if I have to, and then listen back and be like, "Oh, that was dope. I think I'm gonna keep that." You know what I mean? Like I feel like if it's a bunch of people in the studio, especially like ones I don't know, it's like I'm not gonna my super creative side is not gonna open up. You know what I mean? Because it's almost like like they invaded my space. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like like working on this project with Song Lee, like we was in there all the time. So now I'm used to her. So I can go in there and try something without her thinking, what the fuck is this dude doing? You know what I mean? Like she'll understand, like, all right, that's me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because like even with this album, like you you hear the grit, you hear the bars, like most people are pitting it. I'm probably from New York and all that, but then there's an album I did with my man Duds, and it's like almost like a rock kind of emo type shit. You know what I mean? And you
Yeah.
know, some true heads would be like, "What the fuck is this?" Like they wouldn't accept it, but like other people, like, "Yo, this is dope." Like you know what I mean? Like I want to be known as like an LMC, but also an MC that wasn't wasn't scared to try stuff, step out of his box. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah,
want anybody to come to me and be like, "Oh, can you put a verse on this?" You know what I mean? Like, I don't never want to be a person where it's like, yeah, he's not that type of artist, a MC
yeah.
that could do this country record, this type of record. You know what I
I
mean?
think I think
So
man, I think today more so than any other time when coming up, you're free to do anything
Mhm.
because it's so much music out there that you could do the country album and somebody might stumble across a country album in Spain and they like the country album. So, before, it was a gatekeeper. You had to go get a deal from somebody. This person had to sign you, and then you can, like, literally, people don't probably know this because of where we are today, but literally you would not be able to put an album out without a distributor, a label. Like, you really couldn't just hit the button like today and your stuff is uploaded. You really had a gatekeeper saying if you were dope or not. So, I think like that's what's dope about today, like what you're hitting on as far as just like being able to do whatever. Today is, I think it's the dopest time. You could do a song in 10 minutes and just upload it and nobody can stop you, you know.
Yep.
Um,
yeah,
what about
and
as
then
far
and
as
then you know what too? Like it's like the one thing that's different now is like if you if, like for example, you see you got like I'm a fan of Griselda, right? I'm a
Mhm.
fan of like like now everybody sticks to like one sort of thing. Like back when we was younger, like EPMD, that's my favorite group of all time. You know what I mean? But I also love Kid and Play. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
NWA, like Arrested Development. Back then you had like Poor Righteous Teachers. Like it
yeah,
was cool to love all these different people. This was hip hop. You know what I mean? Like now it's different. Like they try to make you choose a side. Like you know what I mean?
yeah. I
Like
think it's going back to that though, man. I've been watching some tours. I think it's kind of going back to some of that. If I'm right, I think TLC and Salt and Pepper are having a tour together. Like, there's like groups now starting to realize the age
They're better
gaps.
together to keep it together.
Yeah, we could rock together now. Like, like
But back
people,
in the day, it was like they were each other's competition of who could sell the more tickets.
right now we could rock together. And despite generational gaps, we can still
They gonna
do,
love us both, and we both gonna get this
yeah,
money.
yep.
Perform
And
our
that's,
hit songs and go home.
yep, it's going back to that for sure. I think it is for
Yeah, yep.
sure going
When they
back to
did that, the Brandy and Monica tour.
Brandy and Monica. Even when some of these verses is allowing some of that to happen too.
Uh-huh.
I think I just saw announced you got Usher and Chris Brown.
Oh yeah.
The Usher and Chris Brown
Uh-huh.
just got announced. Yeah, on Instagram. So that's two generations, right? Different generations there in itself too.
that's
Um,
dope too.
so it's happening. It's happening now. I think because now we're getting to a point that a lot of the young people starting to realize they're getting old too, and they like, oh snap, I do get old. you know, oh snap, I get old
But
too.
you
So
gotta do it while you could still do it. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
there's no age limit on artistry. You know what I mean? Some of the greatest are doing it well into their 80s. You know what I mean? Like, who gonna go and tell Paul McCartney he gotta stop? You know what I mean?
right,
who's gonna go and tell Willie Nelson he can't strum another guitar? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
try telling an artist because they hit a certain age that they shouldn't be able to do what they've done or loved for most of their lives. And it's like, you could put a limit on it, but it has to be up to that person for that. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's gonna stop when they're ready. So some people be like, oh, you're too old, you should be doing something else, or you should do this, or you should be trying to start businesses. And it's like, look, there's so many things everybody could be involved in. But
Yeah,
it's like, we can only do so much, you know what I mean? And then we all do what we want. So everybody's just, I think a lot of people too are just too into what other people are doing, and they don't spend enough of that time in what they do. And that's why there becomes a lot of that. You know what I mean? Like
I know
people
what you
shouldn't be
mean.
frustrated over what somebody else is doing. Like
Yep.
sometimes you just gotta do your own thing and hope it goes your way. You know what I mean? If it doesn't, then try something else. But
So
never let sometimes rejection even discourage you. You know what I mean? Because one person might not like your music, there might be 10 others that will. So
so how about when y'all are writing, do you have rhymes already in the stash, like a whole bunch of rhymes sitting there, or everything is just like tailor made to that beat?
Um,
I maybe once or twice out of anything that I've ever created, I've had like a rhyme like already like set ahead of time where I was like, oh, this would be perfect for that. But for the most part, everything is like more like for that, like created at the time.
How about you, man?
yeah, so when I was younger, like when I had less kids and stuff, I used to have books of rhymes, like ready, like because sometimes I don't know if it ever happens to you, but like sometimes you'll write a rhyme and it doesn't fit what you're doing at the time, and then you may
Yep.
go back to it like a year or two later, and it's like, oh, this is
Oh shit,
perfect.
I
You
forgot
know what I
about
mean?
that.
Like, that, yeah, that's why I never throw nothing away because like you never know, you know. But now, sometimes I try to like have a verse in the pocket sometime, but like for the most time now, I just custom make every verse for the beat. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? For now, like
And then what is it like as far as with the beat picking process? How do y'all choose the beats, especially working on this project together? What was that like? Who picked the beats, or y'all came to a consensus? How do y'all decide on the beats?
It was like a joint venture. So
well,
the
well, let me tell
Gatsby beat,
you, it was hard in the beginning because she's I was coming to her with beats and she was like,
and I'm
"Nah, I
picky.
don't know
I'm
if I
so
like that."
picky.
So we had to
I'm
like,
so picky. Like it gotta
it
hit
was
me
something
in a
that we was
different
both
way.
like, "Oh,
Okay, I
oh
guess.
yeah." I was saying it was something that we was both like, "Oh yeah, this shit dope." You know what I mean? And then there's something that I think like I might have picked that like maybe grew on her like the one assassin attack like my man
Mhm.
Dre Yard did that, and at first she wasn't digging it, but then when I was like, we could tell the story, like what I mean, like we assassins or something like that, and then she wrote her verse, and it was crazy, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, and then she does the skit like I was telling her earlier. Like she's like, "How much?" And everything.
Oh yeah,
So
we come at the ball.
the skit sounded dope leading into that Assassin's Attack joint. I like that one too. How about all right? My favorite, like I said earlier, the Black Magic joint. Who chose that beat? Who picked that? How did that come about? That song, like as far
So
as that beat.
I ended up going to Black Magic's house, and he has like a studio, so he has his whole like setup and everything there because like he's a DJ and stuff. So I went there and we sat down together the one day and we actually kind of he came up with the beat and like as he was playing for me, I'm like, ooh, like I like that. Like Black Magic's a more hands-on, so he likes to do stuff like when he has the artists there. He's not like, oh, let me create these beats and then like ship them out to an artist. Like he wants them to be able to have like a more hands-on approach or a say-so in their like production of the creation. So that's what I also like about like getting to work with Black Magic. So I got to sit down like alongside him while he did that song. And in the beginning, it was like just had like a vibe to it when he came up with the chords for it. And I was like, okay, I'm like, I like that. And I think that particular day I might have been sipping too. So like the beat was just hitting me another way. So I was already like in my head, like, all right, I kind of got an idea where I'm going with it. Like, and that's why like how like the song starts, like it was like a like life happens. Like so that's why like the way I started it kind of like just went into how like I felt. Cause like I said, I'm more of I try to write how I feel kind of so the beat hits me in a certain way. It just will put me in a certain mood, and then my pen will just do the rest after that.
And then like to each of y'all, how many beats do you like sent to you? Because as us as artists, there's different producers, and then they got their own modes of how they like to pitch beats to you. And some people you like, that's cool. Some people like, yo, this is you know what I mean? So
I'm gonna be
man,
honest right now and to throw everybody under the bus. There's people out there sitting on a bunch of beats for years and ain't nobody throwing a bitch no beats. Nobody's like, here, son, listen to this. So once in a while, but a lot of my beats come through like Severely Yours. Shout out Severely Yours. A lot of my beats are like also like pitched to me through Maine. So it's for me, I like working with all types of artists. Like two of the beats that we got on there, the one for Calculated Moves and for Live from the Basement, are both from Skip the Kid. I worked with Skip the Kid on one of his albums that he put out called Call It Whatever You Want 3. I did a song on there with Rebel Sky called We Do This. And that was the return, was he was going to throw me 2 beats for our album if I gave him the verse. So like we did like a little trade-off for that, and that was how I ended up getting the 2 Skip the Kid beats. And that's why in the Calculated Move songs, like I said, I got sick of asking for beats. Now I'm rocking with Skip the Kid. You can call it what you want. Lucky I let you live. Like for me, I write kind of according to my correlation to the music, you know what I mean, or to the beat and how like my mood is or how I'm feeling. Like I don't like to just go off of like picking a topic and sticking to that unless that's the basis for the song. Like if I know ahead of time what the song's about and we write into that like style, then yeah, I can do that. But as far as like me, when I hear a song, I try to just let my pen do what it's going to do.
How about you, man? Like how many beats you prefer sent to you?
Well, so like Skip the Kid was new, for us, but like as far as like DJ Gatsby, Gatsby, This Is Hip Hop, and
This Is Hip Hop.
there's like 2 other people.
Jazzy Lion Man.
Yeah, but like This Is Hip Hop and Gatsby, they know what kind of like beats I like. So like when they send me beats, it's always like something that they know I'm gonna like. You know what I mean? So like that's why I'm always fortunate to have like the beat makers I work with. You know what I mean? But then like with this album, we had Nate Williams, which I worked with Nate in the past, but he makes different range of beats. But it was when he sent that beat, it was like, oh, this is dope. You know what I mean? And and then the Skip the Kid beats, at first it was like, but then we end up killing them, and those 2 songs are like 2 of the popular songs on this album. So
yeah, what's so wild too, like I love having these conversations with other artists because we experience so much of the same stuff. Sometimes you get those producers too that'll send you beats like, yo, I thought you sound dope on this. This is for you. And you be like, nah, that ain't me.
That's not me. That's me. That's me. Because I'll tell them in a heartbeat, like, nah, I'm not feeling that.
How about this one?
You know what?
Yo,
it's good, but just not for
nice of a guy that I'll make it work just because I don't know how to tell somebody like,
no,
nah, bro, that beat ain't for me. Like, you know what I mean?
I'll be like, nah, that ain't me. Because
I'll be like, nah, that one's not for me. What else you got?
Right, and then you got
try to kill the tension. What else you got?
Right, and what about this situation too? Right, when you get they send you, they say, I didn't send you these, like you get a different batch and you be like, yo, I like this. They'd be like, oh, I got more of that. I didn't send that to you because I didn't think you would like that. And you like, you know what? Yo, send me everything, every style, right? Like
that's how I am. Send me everything. If the file got 60 files, if there's 60 files in there, send them all.
Right.
And then I'll let them know, you know what I mean, which ones I like. Because sometimes I like a melodic, jazzy, something with some trumpet, something with some violins going. You know what I mean? Sometimes I like a 90 BPM. Sometimes I like a 120. So like, just send me everything. I'll let you know what I like.
Yeah, send us, y'all, all the producers, send us different stuff. Like you don't know what what like Son Lee was saying, like mood we might
Send
be in.
me a trap, send me a boom bap, send me a drill beat, send me some R&B joints. Like I'll take a little bit of everything just to see what the range is going to be on my idea side.
Right. Especially when we're putting together albums, we're trying to say, okay, we got that style done, we got that mood done. I need something different. So I just find it interesting because, and I'm sure there's producers that have their side of it from hearing about what they can complain about with us. But I just like to say, just to mention that, because sometimes I think producers sell themselves short sending one or two beats and thinking they know what we like. So just want to throw that out there. What's the revision process for you as far as how do you know when that rhyme is done? Maine, if you want to take this one.
Go ahead.
I don't. I know. Sometimes I just because like I said with my process, sometimes it could take me a week to write a verse. You know what I mean? Because I don't just settle on lines to fill the space. You know what I mean? So when it's done, like I know it's done. Like I feel it. You know what I mean?
Are you deleting though, man? You deleting and crossing out, or like are you deleting lines, or you write and then you might stop at that, let's say 8 bars, and you like I gotta come back until I think of something, or you got a whole bunch of stuff that you just like get like that's not gonna make the cut,
Well, no. Sometimes I stop, or sometimes I'll put something, and then I'll go over it, and I'll be like, I don't know. I could do something different with that line, you know what I mean? And I may cross it out, you know what I mean? And sometimes it's like, sometimes I think I get in my own head sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, but it's just my process. I feel like people are judging me for every verse that I put out, you know what I mean? And I can't let myself put out a whack verse, you know what I mean? Like I gotta have some kind of flair in every verse. Like it gotta be every verse I do. I want somebody to walk away and be like, "Yo, you heard what he said?" Like, you know what I mean? Like, and then too, sometimes I think I get so crazy with it that I hate when I let somebody hear something and they don't get the punches that I'm expecting them to get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like so it's I don't know. I be in my head so much trying to construct it in such a clever way. You know what I mean? That sometimes I gotta like step away from it for a minute and let it breathe, and then I come back. You know what I mean? But when I finish, because I want to feel like I gave my best on every verse. You know what I mean? Like you could take every verse you did and feel like you could have made it better, but for the time restriction and the purpose that you have, like I want to feel like I gave it all for that verse. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Son Lee, how about you?
For me, I'm a little different. There's times where I've done like the 16, so I'll know like, all right, this could be the end of it. But then sometimes I just feel like I'm not done yet. So like our album, I want to say there's 3 songs on there: Forever, Vendetta, and Live from the Basement. And both of those I have 32 bars on all of those. Just because once I hit the 16, I was like, but wait, there's more. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't finished once I hit the 16, and I knew that like I could have said more. So like when I feel that way on a song, like there's no telling. Like there's times I've wrote like 24 bars or 28 or 30, just shy of 32. But like I'm the type, I know when I'm done when I'm done. So it could be 16, it could be 24, it could be 20, it could be 32. I just, like I said, to me, it's all in like the way I feel or how the beats like got me. You know what I mean? That determines on if it's going to be just a quick 16 or if it's going to be a little bit longer.
Yeah, that's what I noticed
I
about the
wasn't even
album.
stopping either. I was letting it cook.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
What I was
Yeah,
thinking
even
too.
Severe said that too. He said that he's like that. He loves how like the first song is Forever, and how like on that I did the 32 bars, and then the last one on the end of the album, Live from the Basement, we end that on the same note with a like 32 bar verse. So he said that he liked that about the album as well.
Yeah, I like the album because when I was hearing it, I really felt like it was giving a great introduction of you to me. You know, like I was like,
Absolutely,
it's like,
yeah. And
man,
I've been so excited for this project because I'm like, at least it'll be like a full project. Because like I said, initially it wasn't supposed to be this long. You know what I mean? We thought
yeah,
like we was gonna do like a little like maybe 3 or 4 songs, 5 songs, maybe 6 tops. And then we ended up with so much more because the more we kept going, like everybody was like, oh no, we should put this on there. Or here, I'm gonna give you a beat. Y'all put a song on there for me. And we just ended up with so much more. So like I said, big shout out to all of the producers that helped on the album.
yeah.
Special
I
shout out to
was
Severely
listening to
Yours,
it, and I really
Studio.
like I thought it was dope listening to it because I was like, Maine would rock, and then you would just go after and go off, and I was like, yo, that's dope that he let her rock like that. You know what I'm saying? Because you can get on a project with somebody and they'd be like, yo, we
Yeah,
just
you
wrote
gotta cut that.
16. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, Son Lee?
Yeah.
They'd be like,
So
so I
so
thought it was
so
fire.
so
For
so
me, I
for
was like,
me,
oh, that's
like me hearing her, I was like, yo, she's dope. Like people
it's
need to
dope.
know who
Dope.
she is. You know what I mean? And it's like, and like I told her, I said, I can't promise you anything. I could just say the ride that I'm taking, you can ride it with me. That's it. We see where it goes. You know what I mean? But I knew everybody was gonna love her. Like, you know what I mean? Like even the producers, like this is hip hop and Gatsby, like they all want to do like projects with her and stuff. You know what I mean? So like, and in the beginning, it was just like, oh, let's do a little 4 songs, together just to like, get you out there and then and grow into an album. And then the funny thing about it is like we were so locked in that we don't even have features. We just got the one feature, my man Suspect on Vendetta, but that was it. But it was like we finished it. It was like, damn, we ain't even got no
Man, we
features.
didn't even
And
put no like featured artists on there.
I'm gonna
and
tell
if you
y'all,
listen to like
you
my
know,
past
oh,
album, I'm old school. Like I always like to have a posse cut and stuff like that. But like we didn't even need that on this one.
yeah, when I'm listening to the album and just from doing music and being in the game doing it for so long, right? I'm listening and I'm like, okay, here goes Son Lee. I can actually like mention her with other female artists because a lot of times us male artists we're looking for dope female artists, and now I'm like, when I talk to Master Ace and other people, I could be like, yo, you ever heard Son Lee? She might sound dope on this because a lot of times we are looking for other dope females, that just get it. That if that makes sense, like I believe like listening to you, Sonly, like you get it. Like you're not overly complex. I can hear the intention. I hear the feeling in what you say. When you say it, you
Yeah, yep.
mean it.
Like I said, I'm just your average, you know what I mean, girl. Like I'm not trying to be out there to be like, ha, look at me, like I don't have that type of persona, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like there's a specific aim for my music. Like I want it, whether you're male or you're female, to be able to relate to it in a
right.
sense, you know what I mean? Plus get a little bit of who I am in the mix, you know what I mean? But give you like a lot of more like just life relations, you know what I mean? Life
Yep.
experiences, things that we all went through, whether it be your own self-doubt, you know what I mean? Your own self-fears. Like we all have our own stuff that we could sit, like we always say, like, man, I could write a book. And it's true, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, anybody could write their feelings down, but when you could put your feelings into a song or you could put something out there that relates, like I said, it might not be for everybody, but you might have a specific audience that's just looking for exactly what you got. So
And
that's why I said sometimes like it might start off slow, but I can't let any of that discourage me because everybody that I know that knows me personally and that really like fucks with me,
Yeah.
they tell me all the time, like, yo, son, like, keep at it. Like, you're good, yo. You got to
Yeah.
get the right people behind you to back you. Don't just be letting anybody talk in your ear. You know what I mean? And like I said, I'm not in it for no like get rich quick scheme or nothing like that. Like, I'm okay being a 9 to 5 girl. You know what I mean? Like, I'm okay having a job where I'm a actual taxpayer and I don't mind it. But for me, like, I don't want to let what I do with music change who I am, because I've seen a lot of people that like they were different in the start versus like as time goes on, it's definitely changing a lot of the female artists. And I hate to see that. So I like a lot of them that are more original. You could tell that they're not backed by any like outer influences. And everybody has, like I said, their own story to tell. And your story might be a little different from somebody else that's could be just a little bit doper than you, but that doesn't mean that your story isn't relatable to another side of the world. You know what I mean? So like I said, there's pros and cons with it, but at the end of the day, I do what I do and I love what I do, and I'm just gonna keep doing it.
I got one last question for both of y'all. What are 3 pieces of your work you suggest people to go check out? So, like, it could be a song, it could be a project. Like, if somebody that never heard you and you was like, yo, go check this out. And then it could be people that are fans of yours, but they never really maybe got into that record on your album. Because sometimes we'll make records on an album that we love more than sometimes a single. So, Maine, what's 3 pieces of work that you would say, yo, go check these out if you want to hear me and get to know me?
Uh, I would definitely say the Son of Alice album. You know what I mean? That like that was like a tribute to my mom, like the cover. You know what I mean? So, but that album got a lot of good, reviews and everything. Um, like I think that album really, tells a lot. You know what I mean? Because I get, deep and personal. I mean, even with all my other albums, that's one thing with me. Like, so, like even now, I've been on dialysis for almost 2 years now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, it's never slowed me down because uh, this music's my therapy. So, like, I kind of like I got people that I do music with, and it pisses me off when like they'll say, "Oh, I couldn't make it in the studio," my kid, uh, you know, this, that, and the third, and it's like
Right.
I got 5 kids, I got a grandson, you know what I mean? I got a wife, I'm on dialysis, I got it all, and I still make it to the studio and do this music. So I don't want to hear. Sometimes I
No
hate the
excuse.
excuses. You know what I mean? Like, I mean,
Right.
to each his own too. But if I could do it, you could do it. You know what I mean? Like, if I can make it, you can make it. I hate the excuses sometimes when people like, even when someone's supposed to be on the record with you or something, and they be like, "Oh, I couldn't get there, this and that." Like, she'll tell you, I don't think this whole year process with working on this album, I never miss a studio day. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm always there. It's like my break away from like the real life. It's like, it's like my escape. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But well, to get back to what you said, but Son of Alice, I'm also in a group called Mercy Gang, and I would say our first album, because our boy Hefty was in the group and he passed, but that album too, like, was like a breakthrough, for me, because that was me getting back in the group, because I used to be in the group years ago, and then like we all kind of like, was doing our own thing, but like that
Yeah.
album was dope too, because I was rocking with I was rocking with 2 people from. So Hefty was a Puerto Rican dude that did uh, uh heavy metal. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
then my other partner, Paulie, he's from the scene of the Juggalos, like you know what I mean. Which, you know, for us back in the days, like you, I looked at ICP and them like jokes. You know what I mean? Like this ain't hip hop, but now I appreciate them more because we've opened for them, and their
Yeah.
crowd is loyal and crazy. And if you on the bill with them, they show you just as much love as they show them. You know what I mean? They buy your merch, you know, all of that. So it's like when I did that album, it was three different people from three different aspects of music doing this group. You know what I mean? So like I would say the first Mercy Gang album, which is Animal Rap, Son of Alice album, and I would say this one. You know what I mean? Because like, when's the last time you heard like an album with a dope female? And I mean, you got Chain On, 38 Special and stuff like that, but it's not the norm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you know,
How about you, Son Lee?
I'm gonna say the same. The Mr. and Mrs. Smith album is
Yeah.
definitely where you get to know like a little bit about me. That's for me like my first actual like debut album.
Yeah.
Then I also have a song that I put out last November, right around Thanksgiving, and it's called "Go Stupid," and that one is a song that I wrote and did by myself, and it's more like a club song. So it's like for like a night when you want to go out or like me and my son when we first were like discussing the song, he's like, "Yeah, I'm getting like roller skating vibes from it." And I was like, I said a little bit. And I said, but for me, it was more like the club or like at the bar type of a song. You know what I mean? It's like just saying, like, go out, you know what I mean? Have a good time. And you know what I mean? Being in a, like that type of environment, it could change your life. So, like, it was just a quick little song that I put together. And I was proud of that. So it was like my first like single release that I had put out myself as a
Nice.
like an independent artist once I was verified. So I have Go Stupid, the Mr. and Mrs. Smith album, and then I would say you could also check me out on an album that was done with Maine The Medicine, and this is hip hop called Lyrical Cinema. And I was featured on 2 songs on that album as well. So
Yeah.
then also, like I said, if you want to take it a step further, I did work with Severely Yours, being
Yep.
Maine The Medicine did a project for Severely Yours called Skip the Formalities. And we did 3 songs for that, and that was a dope EP that we put together. So there's a couple of different things there that you could pick up to kind of get to know a little bit about me.
And you know, gotta definitely shout out Severely Yours. I was on his platform. I came across him doing a review for an album I did with Stu Bangers called Two Kings, and then I started following what he does, and I really saw that he's just a pure like person that loves hip hop, like really
Yeah,
loves hip hop. And
he
that's what
does.
made me gravitate towards his platform and following him and just listening to him talk. And then I was able to be on his platform and then, you know, hook this up, which is super dope. And I'm happy he hooked this up with y'all because I got to hear y'all and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, me
Okay,
too.
I got
I finally get to meet you in the flesh. I remember when I was younger, because the Lyricist Lounge was out when, like, I was in my teens, and
yeah,
there was like a couple of those episodes that I used to watch with my friends, and we would die laughing. The one with Tracy Ellis Ross, where the
yeah,
dude's like doing the little freestyle. I think it was called like Mr. Wronger, and she gets
yep,
up from the table, and she was like, I
yep.
was
Shout
like,
out
oh
to
my
Loretta
goodness,
for
like
the show.
there was
Yep.
so many like different artists that used to appear on there, like the talent that used to be on there. And
Right.
then the one that you did with like President Bush, like that
Oh
was
yeah.
one of my favorites. So like when I heard we were gonna be doing like a podcast with you, like I was telling my mom, I was like, this is like big for me. I was like, in a way, like
Oh
I said,
wow. Thank you.
he's like celebrity status. I said, this ain't just like a person who just started a podcast. I said, he's well known. Like I said,
Thank
this
you.
is like a different level for me. My mom's like, calm down, Sandra. You'll be
Nah,
all right.
yeah,
You'll
for
be
the
all right.
walking
She said,
stage too.
he's just like you. He's another person. I said, I
that's
know, mom.
it.
I said, but you got to hold the people that came before you. I said to a little bit higher stature, they get that respect. So I want to give you your flowers as well, Wordsworth, because
Thank
you're an
you.
amazing person as well.
Thank you. I
And I
really enjoy
appreciate
it.
you and
You gotta
everything
move
you've done
that.
in the music game, and keep doing your
You gotta
thing.
thank you. You
It's
got
an
a new
honor.
phone
It's
to
an
me.
honor to be
So
here.
I was super pleasantly surprised. Like, okay, now there's somebody else out there that's fire to listen to. So, you know, anything you need from me, if it's a verse, you let me know. I got you with no problem.
I, I was telling because me and UG are like that's like my brother. Like we went on it's
Got
funny, a quick story, like about like 10 no, like 12 years ago, me and my wife, we was in New York, and you remember the old school at noon.
yeah,
So I Mr. C play a record,
right.
and you got to call in to say. So the record was perfect combination. You know what I mean? Cellar
Yeah,
dwellers, right? So it's funny because then we won. We got in, and we won tickets to Rock the Bells, even though it folded before we can go to the show. But
right.
so then 2 weeks later, I'm going on tour with UG, and the first show is in Staten Island, and I'm telling him about it, and like we connect from there. When I tell you that's my brother from, like, he's produced on every one of my. I mean, he didn't do the Mrs. Smith because he was working on a lot of stuff, but he wanted
Right.
to give us beats, but like but he's been on every one of pretty much my albums and stuff. But like I speak to him like he's a dude that calls and checks on me like all the time. Yo, you good, big bro? Little bro or whatever. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Like, and it's it's crazy. Like, so he got stuff coming out. I was on his last album that came out or whatever. But like, I was telling him, I was like, yo, we gonna be on the Wordsworth podcast. He's like, yo, word. So
yeah. Shout out to
it's his
UG,
dope to like
man.
be.
You know, I just did Phantasm. I just uploaded an
Yeah, I
episode with
saw
me
that.
and Phantasm.
Mhm.
So I got it. I got to get UG. You know, that's the cool thing about being in this game so long is just like we're all cool, but like for me doing this podcast is honestly about the process, so people could respect what it takes for you to make the rhyme. You know, and that's really why I like doing this interview. People get to like really go like because just keeping 100 people. I don't want to say people don't, everybody, I don't put everybody, but some people don't care what you're going through. They just want you to rhyme, right?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
So now they can hear what you're going through, what it takes for you to do this. And there's a bigger appreciation than just hearing 16 bars. They can actually go like, oh, okay, the time that, she or he puts to this, let me absorb this a little bit differently. So so I'm glad we connected and I was able to listen to the album because I'm like I said earlier, I put out albums and I got close friends that don't hear my albums for like a month later. It's hard to hear
Wow.
albums, y'all. It's
It
hard
is.
to hear albums today.
It
It's
is
too
because
much.
there's just so much that everybody's putting out that you might hear it one day and then you never hear it again. You know what I mean? You got to actually go search for the songs to hear them again.
Yeah, it's
And,
crazy. I
and
just Conway put an album out and I wouldn't even have known unless Punch hit me. He was like, yo, Conway just dropped. I'm like, I'm still listening to the Conway joint from like two months ago,
Years
two or 3
ago,
months
yeah.
ago.
yeah.
So it's so much that I have to find time to really go, what albums didn't I listen to that came out months ago? So I think a lot of us are listening to albums that are months old.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. Like I can't even tell you the last time I listened to something that was more newly released unless it's like people that I know that are actually making music and I'm like going to check like the music out, you know what I mean? That's kind of
Right,
what it's been. Or I just listen to like my own music or like old school stuff and I
right.
like a lot of jazz, I like a lot of Motown, so I still listen to a lot of the oldies and when I was growing up, I always felt like an older woman trapped in a young girl's body. So I used to always like joke with people, like, because they'd be like, "Oh my God, I love this song," and they'd be like 20 or 30 years older than me, and I'd be like, "Yeah, me too." Like knowing I wasn't alive when the song came out, but I'm like, "Yeah, this is my song too," and I could sing every word. But
Right.
like I said, music, I don't think music has a specific time. It can hit you at any time, at any moment. You know what I mean? So as long as we out here doing what we love, I say just keep at it. You know what I mean? Why would we stop doing what we love? Even if one person don't like it or 10 people don't like it, there are always going to be people that don't rock with what you got to say. You know what I mean? So I take criticism, I take feedback, I take all of it with a grain of salt, but I don't think it would ever change me as who I am lyrically, because I do what I do. You know what I mean? I don't write to fit anybody else's style. I don't want to sound like nobody else. I don't want to be compared to anybody else, even though some people say that I do sound a little bit like Remy. But I'm like, you could hear it, I guess, a little bit.
We all get compared. We all have
Yeah.
gotten a comparison. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, yep. But I think I still have my little differences that you could tell the difference. You know what I mean? If you're a real Remy Ma fan, you could tell I'm not Remy.
Well, I like to
I'm a Remy fan, and I could tell I'm not Remy. So.
I like to thank y'all again.
But I think she spit harder than Remy. That's just me.
Yeah, I enjoy hearing you, and I'm like I said, you got a new fan in me. And shout out to Severely Yours, and everybody out there, make sure you go get the Mr. and Mrs. Smith album that's out right now on all platforms. I was listening to it on Apple, on iTunes, if y'all don't know, and make sure y'all support it. And follow them on Instagram. Give your Instagrams and social media real quick.
My Facebook is Sandra Evans, and my Instagram is Sincerely Sandra.
Okay. My Instagram is at Maine The Medicine, and then my Facebook, my regular name is Maine Cruz. So.
Okay, yeah, I'm make sure I hit that follow right now. That's right now. So I got you right now. And like I always say, y'all, make sure y'all check out the Mr. and Mrs. Smith album. Shout out to Severely Yours. And like I always say, what are your words worth, y'all? Peace. Thank y'all.